Hello BookTube, this is Weekly Reads. I've had a pretty good reading week this week, all things considered. I finished 2 books and I bailed on 1. So let's get going. So I started the reading week with The Spell by Hollinghurst. This is his 3rd novel. It is set in the mid-90s and is about 4 gay men. Robin, a 40-something architect, his younger boyfriend Justin, Justin's ex-boyfriend Alex, who is in the civil service, and Robin's 22-year-old son Danny. And the novel is basically about them coming to personal revelations, or at least some of them, while bed hopping. I read the first chapter and beginning of the 2nd chapter, and I realized that I actually don't like this novel all that much, or at all. So, a bit of history about me and The Spell. I've had The Spell for about 20 years. I bought it, or it was gifted to me, when I was in, I want to say either a junior or senior in high school. And I read it at the time, and I bailed within the first chapter, maybe 2nd chapter. And then it took me about another 2-3 years when I was in college to get around to reading to actually do a bail redemption of The Spell, and I read it at the time and really didn't like it because, again, it's basically about these 4 men bed hopping their way to personal revelations or growth or something. And I should have just left well enough alone, but for the past few years I've wanted to read all of Hollinghurst's novels. I've only read 2 of his works, The Swimming Pool Library and The Spell. I've bailed on The Folding Star. I've never gotten around to The Line of Beauty, and it's taken me a while to pick up The Stranger's Child, and I did bail on The Sparsholt Affair before I think I was making YouTube videos. But since 2019, I've wanted to try to read all of Hollinghurst over the course of 6 months, or a year alternating months. And pretty much every time I've done it, I've failed. Usually it's because I've been bailing on The Swimming Pool Library. And then this year it was I managed to actually read The Swimming Pool Library, but I ended up bailing on The Folding Star again, and now The Spell. So I think I'm going to just, even though I really should read, or at least have a go at The Line of Beauty and The Stranger's Child, but I think I really should not do read all of Hollinghurst again. And I probably should really think about sending these 6 novels on their way. Even though, with like The Spell, it's one of the novels I've had for 20 years. I mean, this along with Mysterious Skin, Dancer from the Dance, City of Night, Thousand Cranes. They're the novels I've had in my collection the longest. But if I don't like them really, or if I'm really never going to come back to them, then maybe I should get rid of them when given the preciousness of space. So, but we'll see. I mean, right now I'm more inclined to purge, but we shall see. I might change my mind. I usually do because I do have the horrible habit of regretting some of the bells I've done. Anyway, so after I bailed on the spell, I pretty much took a few hours to sort of have lunch and to recenter myself and all that, and also to pretty much get to my, when I read during the work week, I pretty much, if like I have a bail on Saturday or Sunday, I'll usually take a few hours and then I come back during that period, which is like 2 to 6, 6:30, 7, depending on what day it is. So on Saturday, I had lunch, and then I started the book that I had said I was going to read over the course of the work week, or if I bailed on the star, I would start on this book afterwards, and I did. So I started on The Ottomans by Marc David Baer. I read it the rest of Saturday. The time I had to read on Sunday, since I did go to my brother's for Easter, and then through the work week till Wednesday when I finished. So I read The Ottomans and I loved it. It's the history of the Ottoman dynasty from Osman II in the late 13th century, and a little before, to the dissolution of the dynasty in 1922, when Mustafa Kemal Ataturk declared the Turkish Republic. The Ottomans tries to recenter the Ottomans as a European power, as Romans, since they did succeed to most of the territories that were part of the Roman Empire. Either the Western Roman Empire centered on Rome, or the later Eastern Roman Empire centered at Constantinople. And Marc David Baer explores this idea of the Ottomans as Romans and as a integral part of Europe during these centuries, by showing how the Ottomans engaged with and influenced the Renaissance, the Reformation, the sort of Age of Discovery, and also the Enlightenment, and of course also the 19th century. And I really enjoyed this book. It is an amazing read. I highly, highly recommend it. It is a great read. So after I read The Ottomans, I moved on to Spider by Katarzyna and Serguisz Michalski. I'm pretty sure I butchered Serguisz's name. This is part of the animal series from Reaction Books. They're short introductions to various animals that look at the biology and the animals' relationships with humans, both personal and cultural. I did not particularly care for this book. So the animal books that I've liked are balanced between the biology, the history of the study of the animal in question, their sort of economic relationships with humans, and then the cultural relationships, both historical, mythical, folklore, as well as art, literature. Spider is very much literary criticism that looks at the spider in human culture, largely through a psychoanalytic critical perspective, which drove me crazy because I cannot stand psychoanalysis and psychoanalytic literary theory. So I didn't particularly care for the critical approach. And I also had some issues with the chapter on arachnophobia. I was constantly questioning myself with, well, your explanations seem just really weird, which, I mean, it's psychoanalysis, what to expect. When a simple explanation is just as why my mother is an arachnophobe, and my mom is a really strong arachnophobe, and that's because my grandfather threw a spider in my mom's hair when she was a little girl, and I'm pretty sure that or similar explanations are why most people are arachnophobes, not some weird kind of stretch of the Oedipus complex. But anyway, so yeah, that kind of annoyed me throughout the book. And I was also rather annoyed by the often lack of positive images of spiders. If you're looking for criticism of Charlotte's Web, it's not in here, or even a discussion of Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. It's not in here. Spider-Man. I mean, you would think one of the most popular superheroes, such an important figure in pop culture and in culture in general, let's be clear here, would reform the image of the spider, I mean, into a far more heroic look. I mean, the movies are kind of sort of grudgingly mentioned, but since it doesn't really fit into their critical paradigm, they kind of gloss over it. So, yeah. Anyway. So I was a bit disappointed in that. To such an extent that the video I was planning on making Wednesday and Thursday if I didn't end up having other things going on. Wednesday, and I didn't particularly feel very well yesterday, sort of prevented me from making this video, but I was actually intending on making a video where I would talk about all of the books I wanted to pick up from the University of Chicago's Great Book Sale, which is currently ongoing. I wanted to pick up some, like there's a whole lot of history I want, a whole lot of the Reaction Animal series, some fiction I want, not much in the way of poetry. But after Spider, I don't really want any of the animal reaction books right now. So it's pretty much, I'm just going to go with some of the histories, and I'll probably wait either sometime in May or maybe even June to when the sale's almost over before I pick anything up from there, even though I would like to get some pretty soon. Anyway, so yeah, that was annoying. Okay, so what will I be reading this coming reading week? I am planning on doing a reread of The Last Sun by Katie Edwards. I've read this twice. Well, this will be my second. Yeah, this will be my second reread. The Last Sun is the first book of the Tarot sequence. It's a contemporary, alternate fantasy series that is set on Earth. On an Earth in which Atlantis was real and was discovered in the 1950s or 1960s, and this discovery led to an Atlantean world war that saw Atlantis destroyed and the survivors migrating for the most part to the island of Nantucket, which became New Atlantis. In the novels about Rune St. John, the last survivor of the Sun Court, basically Atlantis' political structure is that there's a nobility that are inspired by the tarot, or in this case, they inspired the tarot. And there's all have magical powers and what have you. So Rune basically makes a living by being a sort of an occult detective, mercenary, primarily working for another one of the major arcana, the Tower. And so the Last Sun has kind of two cases. One, the prologue, in which Rune and his companion Brand participate in the fall of the Lovers' Court, and then the main plot is Rune looking for the Tower's kidnapped godson, and the plotting that led to it. So when I first read The Last Sun in 2018, I think it was, I really enjoyed it. I had some quibbles with it. I did, but I really enjoyed it. But on my second reading in 2020, I was a whole lot more critical of The Last Sun. I really don't like the treatment of the character Max, who's my personal favorite character in the book. I'm not particularly fond of Rune or Brand. I really don't like the hyper-competent sidekick because, well, why do you have the incompetent main protagonist? And I don't really care for Rune's love interest, so it's kind of like the three main characters I don't like. So, ooh. And there are a few other issues I have with the books. But I do have the third book in the series on pre-order, so I thought it would be fun or appropriate to reread The Last Sun and then The Hanged Man in May before reading The Hourglass Throne in June. So hopefully, even though my reread was a lot less fun and I'm much more critical of it now, hopefully I will enjoy The Last Sun, because I really don't want to bail on it, but we shall see. And then during the work week, my readings during that Monday through Friday, I'm planning on reading Shadowplay by Charles Baxter. I originally picked this up for my America 20 project on the strength of, I think it's The Art of Subtext, is the book he wrote in the Art of Writing series. And I was curious to see his own work, and I thought this one sounded interesting, but we shall see. I've had it for about 2 years now, and I really need to get to it. But if I bail on one or both of them, it's entirely likely, then I will find something else to read, although I'm not entirely sure what that is. And then next week, yeah, so we'll find, you'll find out next weekly reads what that is. Anyway, my plans for next week. So on Monday, I'm going to be doing another original tag video. Jim of Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff has done for the past 2 weeks a city book tag, first London and then Paris. And I asked him on the comments for Paris if he was planning on doing any more, and he said he wasn't, but that he left it open for others to do cities that we love, like tags for them. So I'm going to be doing at least one city tag on Friday. Then on Tuesday I'll do any book tags that I see between now and Tuesday. Wednesday I'm either going to do a manga video, or which I was talking about last Friday before I had to end the video in a bit more depth, or I could also do my Secret Wars video, which plays off of the Secret Wars videos from Steve Donahue and Michael K. Vaughan, which I've wanted to do for a few weeks now. So one of those or like Wednesday and Thursday. And then on Friday I will do my book haul. Okay, no, that's not going to work because my mom has an appointment on Friday. So I'll probably do my April book haul on Thursday. Since Friday I'll likely not have the time for that. And then Friday, of course, will be weekly reads. So anyway, BookTube, until next week, thank you, have a great evening and weekend, and I will see you on Monday. So until then, stay safe.